Distinguished guests, participants, organizers, thank you for inviting me to speak in this conference on the interdependence of ecology and economy. In the Anthropocene age, humanity has made a huge difference to the ecosystem we live in. Before the Industrial Revolution, around 1800, we had 1 billion people living in the planet. Since then, a lot has happened. Till that period, we probably lived off the land in many ways. We depended on energy sources, the natural energy sources, from the sea, from the wind, from the sun, and of course we lived off the land. But the Industrial Revolution helped us harness energy that was behind us, or rather below us, in fossil fuels. And that led to an explosion of development, that led to an explosion of the population. The population grew from 1 billion people in the year 1800 to about 7 billion now, and is expected to grow to about 11 billion by the end of this century. Industrial activity grew, cities were formed. For a long time, mankind thought that this was development. And we've grown and we've developed, we've got richer, healthier, leading longer lives, and so on and so forth. But we must remember that even in the 7 billion people in the planet today, only about 1 billion people earn more than $30 a day. That's about $1,000 a month, right? The rest of the 7 billion are still making this way of making this journey of developing, of moving from an underdeveloped situation to a more developed or a richer situation. And that has its impact. In addition, you have 4 billion people being added over the next 80 years. So when we look at what is this impact of all this going to be on the ecosystem, it's something that I think we've started recognizing more and more, particularly over the last 20 years. Some of the changes are irreversible. Rising sea levels cannot be reversed, but some of the changes are reversible. And that's where deforestation, etc. is reversible. There's wilding that we can do, there's tree planting, there's so much that we can do, and which is, I think, a big part of the conference today. We are also all fresh from COP26, what has been achieved or what has not been achieved. But I think one of the achievements of COP26 has also been the fact that about 120 countries, accounting for maybe 90% of the forest cover in the world, have signed up to make sure that they either reverse deforestation or don't take out any more forests by 2030. And that's a big commitment. And that's very important because the solutions that we have to climate change, while there are technological solutions, while we can drive greater efficiency, have less greenhouse gases emitted for the same progression that we've made, or have different technologies to capture it, store it, use hydrogen, so on and so forth, we also need to create a sink for the carbon that will anyway get emitted, even as we make this journey towards net zero, as well as consume the carbon which is already out there in the atmosphere. And that's where reforestation is very important, creating those sinks are very important, and that's why conferences like this become very important. India has also made a fair amount of progress over the last few years. There's greater understanding of this, and if I've seen the data right, I think there is a report which says that India has at least not lost any more forests in the last few years. In fact, India also has a mechanism for it. As industry, we know that there is a compensatory afforestation fund that is created to which industry contributes to, and as far as I know, there is a lot of money out there which is waiting to be spent on the right causes. So I think we've created the mechanisms, we have the policies, we need to execute. You know, just like industrial organizations try to look at resource efficiency as a best way or a more efficient way to look at using resources, I think as mankind we need to look at the whole ecosystem, its interdependencies, and look at how can we live more efficiently in a manner that is sustainable, in a manner that we use the principles of a circular economy, in a manner that we learn actually from the past. You know, I live and work in the eastern part of India, in states like Jharkhand, where there's a huge tribal population. And while there are many who are working with the tribals ostensibly to help develop or help them come into a modern way of living, there's so much we need to learn from the tribal way of living, because they learn to live with the land, they are one with the land. In fact, we do a festival every year in Jamshedpur called Samvad, where we get tribal communities from all over the world, in fact, not just all over India. And it's a fascinating journey where we really look at the wisdom of some of these communities, and there's so much that we need to learn from them. In fact, one of the sayings which I heard maybe 4 years back is "Dharti se dharti ka hu main, dharti ke hu tum, or hum sab mehman hai dharti ka." And I think that's the way to look at it. We are all guests on this planet. It's something that we've inherited and something that we need to leave behind, and we need to make sure that multiple generations, can live sustainably on this planet. Thank you very much.